All right, good morning, everybody. Today is Friday, January 9th, 2015, and this is For the First Cup with Jules and Zorie on UCY.tv. Good morning, Zorie. Maybe.
Good morning.
Haha, she's there. Happy Friday.
Oh, yeah, thank goodness it's Friday.
Yeah, I've had nothing but technical problems since I got out of bed yesterday morning. And they still continue. We now have no heat.
Oh, that's
We've had
good.
no heat or hot water since last night.
And what's the temperature there?
It's now 19, but we have
Holy
40-mile-an-hour winds, so it's awesome. Yeah, I couldn't get on last night, or yesterday morning. For anyone who's listening and said, why the hell was Hal on? I dialed in yesterday, I heard all the bumper until 2 seconds before the end of the bumper, and then it went shh.
Oh, no.
And then it went dead air, and then it wouldn't let me connect. I couldn't connect. So that was the end of that. Drew and Chuck were off air yesterday, right as 10 o'clock rolled around, and they had some stellar guest that was really important to get on the air, but I don't think it had anything to do with them. I think something was going on with the whole country being in deep freeze, and
I think so.
This stupid neighborhood being on electric heat. We had like a brownout right at 10 o'clock, right as the guys are going on air, and all of a sudden, everything in the house dimmed. And then my notebook, I was upstairs, my notebook, LCD, cause I usually sit and screen shows when they first start, make sure everyone gets on. My notebook LCD starts going dink, 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 like light to dark. I'm like, what's going on? And then out here, all the servers are running on battery power. It wasn't good at all, and it deteriorated from there. But
wow.
Yeah, it's not fun. So I think my father-in-law actually just got here. They're gonna see what's going on. But we got up this morning. I actually put on like 5 blankets last night. It was unbelievably cold, cause I couldn't get the heat to go on then. After everyone went to bed, the heat was fine. After everyone went to bed, the heat was not fine. I could hear my little fridge every time it tried to kick the, compressor on. It was groaning, and then it would just kick itself off. And then, this morning for, trying to get a shower, there wasn't one. Cause I thought, I'm like, oh no, the water's 222.
Oh, man.
So that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, we have propane tanks with an attachment you can put on the top for heat in case the heat ever goes out.
Yeah, you want to be careful of that though because of...
yeah, as long as you have any ventilation, and you're awake, I wouldn't suggest going to sleep with it on, but if you're up and around, it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I had a fireplace put in probably about 10 years ago specifically for that reason, because I was like, we have electric everything, and there is no gas that runs to this neighborhood, which again is another dumb thing, but I guess that's what they did in the 80s, early 80s, after the 70s oil shortage, maybe. It just seemed to me like kind of a dumb thing when we get ice storms and stuff here, but.
Right.
The sad
one way of warming your house.
Right. The sad fact of the matter is, though, that, when the fireplace is on one end of the house and the bedrooms are on the other end of the house, it doesn't help much. No. I mean, you have to literally, all be huddled in the same room. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so just be aware, if you guys lose us during the show, I've had some major technical difficulties here in the last 24 hours. Beyond just radio network, like everything. And, we got all those battery backups for all these servers, and yeah, they lasted great for about 10 minutes. But I mean, that's all they do. They're so your servers don't slam off. They shut them down gracefully. But still, you're running on battery power, so it's not endless. And the thing is, the power was on out here, because all the lights were on. The power was on, but it wasn't getting enough juice is the problem. And actually we're seeing that all over the house. Like, to make coffee, we had to turn off all the lights. And to make toast this morning, things will not work if everything's on, but if you shut everything off and try to turn it on, then you get enough juice for one thing.
So, and is that happening in your whole neighborhood or just your house?
It started at 10 o'clock last night, but my in-laws only live a few miles away, and they said that they weren't having any issues, so I guess we'll see.
Well, it's like someone cut your power in half or something like
or a quarter. But what's even odder is that, the issue with the 220, with the not being able to get heat or hot water, yet the stove's on 220, and the time didn't even flicker on and off on the stove. So
that is weird.
Weird is that? Though my alarm clock went off in my bedroom, so we lost power in some outlets, but not others. Like, my computer never went off. The lights upstairs never went off. Yeah, it's very strange. So I don't know. The thing is, though, we were seeing problems on YouTube, on TuneIn. There were friends of mine in other parts of the country that actually had, their monitors flash right at that time. So one of the things I was thinking, did you see that they said that there were snowflakes in Florida yesterday?
Yeah, I did. I thought, wow, what?
And I saw Tennessee Dan saying it was 0 in Tennessee the day before, and I think Vince said it was -3 in Arkansas.
Holy
shit. I'm telling you, if I had to guess, I would say that they just shut down Vermont Yankee. Remember we were talking about this a couple days ago with this green energy, and then, them going after nuclear, coal, and fracking, and now how they're going to turn it around and point it at us and turn us into a third world nation that way. Think about it. As now they're going to cry that there isn't enough energy to power things. Well, look, now we're going to be underpowered. Well, look at people, because you wanted nuclear power shut down, you're not going to have heat in the wintertime. That's what happens. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
They could also very easily jack the prices up sky high for the power we do have.
Yeah, they're doing that here. Mm-hmm. It's going up 33%.
Holy shit.
Yeah, in one heap.
Wow. And I mean, in California, you guys pay through the nose like we do here in New York anyway, to begin with.
Right. We have all these extra things. I mean, every year, I read the inserts in my bills. Most people don't. But every year, they are adding for an increase, requesting an increase. And then people don't pay attention, and boom, this is the highest increase that we've ever had on natural gas.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I think it's going to get way worse.
Yeah.
And then as the EPA, I just heard someone talking about this the other day, and I know I read the story way back when it first came out last year, I think, about the EPA wanting to ban burning wood because of the particulate pollution. And I got to tell you, I have a real allergy to wood ash, like anytime I burn a fire here, or if I'm at my parents' house and my father's got the stove on, I could definitely tell. My throat and my lungs get tickly, like there's major allergens in the air, and I've come to the conclusion, I've done all my own experimenting on myself. It is, and I wouldn't admit it, I refuse to admit that it was the fire, but it is. It's the ash in the fireplace that I am really irritated by. And, so I'm not going to say that burning wood isn't without its pollutants, especially indoor pollutants, and, it's releasing carbon and whatever, but, fire is like one of the main elements. You know what I mean? We're air, earth, fire, and water. It's one of the 4 cardinal points of nature. So how could you ban burning wood?
Well, they did in California. You can't buy a wood burning fireplace anymore. It has to be pellets.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, a bunch of the guys here have been buying pellet stoves and ditching their wood-burning stoves. And I'm like, guys, I know you're in their 60s and your 70s, and I know cutting wood every year and getting it delivered and stacking it really sucks ass, but how you gonna stuff a log into a pellet stove when shit is a fan?
There you go. Yep.
Maybe if you got some sort of dual-use stove, I don't even know if they sell that, but I wouldn't be getting rid of my wood burner.
But here you can't buy one anywhere. I guess you could still build one. I don't know. Probably the code is against it too. I don't know. I don't have.
Yeah, I think that what I was reading is that the EPA was actually going to make it like against code. I know here a few years ago, because it was dry here this last year and the year before it wasn't, but we did have some real dry summers, and what's the group that's environmental? Department of Environmental Conservation here in New York State had come out and cautioned against bonfires. And they came up with all these new bonfire rules, which, I gotta say, I'm not against them. Leaving fires unattended, well, that's probably not too smart anyway, you know what I mean? And I've seen lots of drunk people in the woods do lots of really stupid things too. Like pile wood up so high it's burning 8 feet in the wind right near the woods. That's really stupid.
But there's always going to be stupid people. Why do you punish everyone for a stupid act? Right.
I guess now in New York, you gotta be careful because if they see a burning plume, you might get a visit from a Department of Environmental Conservation officer. When we do bonfires, I have my chimenea that we got as a gift. Oh my God, when we first moved in here, probably 12, 13, 14 years ago, and it sat out in the back deck. I never ever used it. So I decided that one of these times I was going to fire that up and see how it works. And I got to tell you, I personally like the chimenea better than than having a big fire pit. Because it's all contained. You know what I'm talking about, right? The little chimeneas.
Right. We use those in outside bars here.
You what?
And bars that you can't smoke inside, so you have outdoors and like area, they use those.
Fire burning? Wood burning?
Yeah, that's weird, huh?
Yeah, I thought you said you're not allowed to have fires. Oh, no, yeah. Well, mine's a wood burner. Mine's a wood burner.
Oh, okay.
So you go out and you could even collect twigs, and it works pretty well. And it's even got a little grill inside. So if you wanted to chuck charcoal in there, you could and make yourself a barbecue. Oh. And it's got like a flat top on it, so you could literally boil water. I think it's like the coolest little recreational outside fire device that could be turned into a shit hit the fan device real easily. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's cast iron, so you don't have to worry about it rusting or anything, and it's great. But, you stick 2 or 3 logs in there, and that fire's pretty toasty for, sitting out stargazing at night, especially in the late summer, early fall, when you have some real nice crispy clear nights, but it's freezing. And you want to get, catch like the Perseids, I think, are down toward the end there. It's a great thing to get fired up and stay warm with.
Yeah, I have friends that have built out of steel drums built their own little fireplace.
Yeah, or even a rocket stove. That's Drew. Drew, Double Cross Drew was just telling me yesterday he got a couple steel drums. He's building his rocket stove.
Right, they're nice. They put out a lot of heat.
Yeah, they do. Well, it's the way you design them, so they get that big flume full of air that sucks through. You get a nice vacuum in there. So, anyway, that's about that. So I don't know. I guess we'll have to see what happens with fire burning. But all I'm saying is it's 19 degrees and it's freaking cold. And I wish I had a fire that was warm enough to keep the whole house warm.
Yeah, because once it gets so cold, I don't care how many clothes you put on, you're still going to be cold.
Well, I had 5 blankets, a very, very thick woolly sweatshirt with that fuzzy wool inside on me, sweatpants, socks, and then my munchkin. I climbed in her bed because I was worried, you can't have a kid with no heat. So right. I was like, well, you know what? I'll put extra blankets on her bed. I brought all my blankets in and my pillow and I wooled up and then I figured I'd climb in and make sure she was warm, but she's like a heat box. Oh my God. So I sweat all night. She was so warm, but it was good. It was good.
Yeah.
And I was sure then that she was warm, but it's just kind of freaky, it's in freaking January in the middle of a cold snap. I really hope they can figure out what's going on because this totally isn't cool. I mean, for all the years we've been here, we've never had an issue like this. So this is kind of sucky.
Wow. Man, I just couldn't imagine. I hate it. And once my feet and hands get cold, they're almost impossible to get warm and makes me cold all over.
Yeah, I gotta tell you too, I've been having real issues trying to get started writing stories this 2015. Because it's been so cold out here. I mean, even out here in this office, this is just a converted old garage, but we got drywall and some basic, wall insulation. I think, what is it, R13?
R13, yeah.
So, I mean, it's not that stellar. Up above in the attic, we put the heavy duty stuff. I don't remember what the R value was, but it was that really super thick stuff.
R19?
No.
There's R11, R13 and R19?
No, it was way beyond that.
Oh, nice.
It was the big, thick stuff you put up in the attic. But, so at least it holds some of the heat. Well, because before, there was no insulation when we first moved in here. So anytime I would put even a little space heater out here, I'd get massive ice damming out the back door.
Wow.
Because it would be going straight up and out.
I thought all houses had to have insulation.
Not the garage.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It was over the garage. But, the heat would go straight up and out, and then it would all start melting over the back door, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so you couldn't have that. I actually had water that you could see that came in over by the gutter, so I was like, nah, it's one of the first things we need to do is get some N95 masks and, some gloves and put some insulation up there, so we did, but. Anyway, I don't remember my point.
It's cold.
Mm-hmm. Oh, doing the story. So it's been so damn cold out here, though. I mean, the heat can't even keep up with it out here. And my fingers, by the time the show's over, my fingers have been like frozen fingertips, and I can't type. So and then your brain doesn't work too well. So this hasn't been good at all.
Right. But you know what I did for my finger? My fingers get cold easy. And what I did is I used surgical gloves, and then I put those gloves on that the fingers are cut off.
Uh-huh.
And it actually keeps my hands warmer.
Oh, yeah?
And the surgical gloves, you can feel what you're doing. It's not like you have a fat glove on. I mean, I can even type with it.
You mean surgical gloves as in the latex?
Yeah.
I get those to do the litter box.
Yeah, that's what I used them for, was household, but my hands kept getting so cold, and I put the gloves on with no fingers, where they're cut off, but then the fingertips were still cold, so I wasn't getting, any results. So I just thought, and I put the gloves, the real tight-fitting ones, on, and then put that on, and for some reason it seems to insulate the fingertips.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, so that's worked for me.
Yeah.
But that doesn't help the brain work any.
No, I mean, when it's cold, my brain, and especially, like, we got double whammy out here because I just roll out of bed and it's freezing. Oh my God. All I want to do is just roll back into bed, you know?
Yeah.
I wanted to share a couple things with you guys here. I found a disturbing story. I know I'm kind of partial to New York, but New York and California are two places to pay attention to because it's where the most libtards are, and it's where the most taxes are. And if you want to see what your dystopian future's gonna look at California and New York.
Yeah.
It's coming to a redneck state near you.
Right. Yeah.
U.S. court upholds New York State vaccination requirement for students.
What?
Remember, this has been one of my sticking points for a long time. I was just telling my husband yesterday that, I mean, if this really is going to affect us, I think I'm moving to Pennsylvania. Because I'm not going to stand for this. New York State, and probably right over the border. Right? You can go right, I mean, literally, I know people right at the border there. You can literally go right over the border. So, and there's nothing at the border. There's just a sign saying, welcome to New York. And then you're in a New York town. So, I mean, it might not be too hard. New York State requirement that children be vaccinated in order to attend public schools does not violate parents' religious rights under the Constitution, a federal appeals court said on Wednesday. Yes. It does not violate constitutional rights.
Well, how about that teen in Maine, in Connecticut?
Well, we're going to talk about that. I actually just posted a story. There were 43 deaths now. So we'll talk about this. All right. A 3-judge panel of the 2nd District U.S. Court of Appeals in Manhattan also ruled, because remember last year they passed, during that quote-unquote flu pandemic, they had passed a rule stating that for preschools, if I am not mistaken, it was for preschools, they were requiring children to get the flu shot. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I don't remember if it was preschool or not.
Yeah, it was for preschools, because in New York State, they had requirements for schools, but I don't remember there ever being requirements for preschool, and I did have my kid in preschool.
Right.
And I mean, they did, kids, babies get all that entire whole gamut of injections typically, and nobody says anything, but they now are requiring it. And I thought it was only New York City, but this court ruling, so somebody must have taken him to court, because it doesn't really say where this case came from, but I'm assuming, since it was in Manhattan and is talking about, well, we'll talk a little bit more here, but I'm assuming that it was this newest push. Now, remember too, I still gotta look, last year they had put that Gardasil vaccine on the docket for making it required in New York, and that hadn't been voted on, and that's where my biggest concern is coming in, because we're not getting it. It is, my child will not get some experimental bullshit nanotechnology virus-like particle patented synthetic freaking garbage in her body. It's not going to happen. Not.
Well, like here, Brown, he said he passed the ruling that a 12-year-old can decide for herself if she wants to Gardasil, so they can terrify her without her parent being there and give her the shot.
Or completely twist the truth so the kid goes, oh yeah, well I don't want to die when I'm 20. Here, I'm going to get it.
Yep.
All right, so let me read this. A 3-judge panel of the 2nd Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals in Manhattan also ruled that students who receive religious exemptions from the vaccination law may be kept out of school during the disease outbreaks, affirming a lower court decision. The Second Circuit rejected claims by 3 New York City parents who said the individual right to religious liberty granted by the First Amendment trumped the state's goal of preventing the spread of diseases in school. The parents claim that a growing body of evidence showed that vaccines do more harm than good. Quote, that is a determination for the legislature, not the individual objectors, the court wrote. 2 of the plaintiffs are Catholic and received religious exemptions from the vaccination law, the court said. They sued, however, after their children were barred from attending school during a chickenpox outbreak. The third plaintiff, which, can I just say something? During a chickenpox outbreak, first of all, chickenpox is a childhood disease that all kids get, and I don't remember too many people dying from. And as a matter of fact, you want to get chickenpox when you're a kid, because if you don't, and you're an adult and you get it, you end up with shingles, which is an extremely painful and dangerous condition when you're older.
Right, at 3 months, I introduced my daughter. I took her over to some neighbor's house that had chickenpox, so she would have them at a younger age.
You did a chickenpox party?
Yeah, we did though, because I knew that the older you get, the harder it is on the body. So, and she went through it 3 days and she was fine. So I don't see how they can force us.
Well, exactly. Talk for a second.
Oh, okay. And two, you know, they have the shot for the mumps. They have, and my mom went and got a shingles shot, $250 because they talked her into it. But I had the mumps, I had the measles, I had the chickenpox, I had all of those and came through fine, and all my friends had them too. And so now this idea, I mean, what, they give children the hepatitis shot within an hour of their birth. This is ridiculous. And with all the proof out there, one good one to go to is Gary Null. He has gone in front of Congress showing and proving that these shots are no good, that they are more harmful than they are good. And the thing that always bugs me most is these people that get their kids all inoculated with all these preventative vaccines. What if they worked, then why are they so upset about someone who doesn't get the shots? Because if they worked, your child's protected. And so even if they do come across a child that's not been had her vaccine, they wouldn't get it anyway.
Hey, I hate to do this to you guys, but we got to take a break here. I told you my father-in-law's here. He's a retired electrician, and he's out in the garage in the panel box. They need to turn the power off so they can get a reading and then turn it back on.
So we'll be back.
Yeah, the servers are not going to go down, which is good because they're all on battery backup, but the internet's going to go off here for a second. So we're going to lose our signal for about a minute or so. And I can't put music on because if there's no internet, I can't even stream the music out through there.
So you're going to have a moment of silence.
Yeah, you know what? I should, once this is all over and I get all this shit straightened out, I should see how I get my router plugged into one of these battery backups. I thought I was, but he says I'm not. So,
okay.
All right. Well, here, hold on then. I'll do Jeopardy music until it happens. Let me just let them know.
Okay.
All right, go ahead. Okay. There we go. So maybe, are we on now? Is it showing the equalizer? All right. We couldn't figure out why we weren't on air, and it was because somehow, you see why broadcast account let go. Are you there, Zorie?
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
All right. So I think we're on air now.
I just asked if they could hear us. No, can hear.
Right. Not yet, because it takes 30 plus seconds, so they will.
Yeah.
All right. So let's finish the story. The parents claim that a growing body of evidence showed vaccines can do more harm than good. That is a determination for the legislature, not the individual objectors, the court wrote. And two of the plaintiffs are Catholic and received a religious exemption from the vaccination law. The court said they sued, however, after children were banned from attending school during a chickenpox outbreak. That's where we left off. So,
right.
You know, I mean, here's the thing. They even convinced me at the time, we were talking, this was 6-7 years ago, that I wanted to get my kid the chickenpox vaccine. And I remember saying to her, well, you know, I had chickenpox and so did my sister and we both lived. And they're like, oh no, but they're not going to get it now and blah, blah, blah. And you could get this and you could get that and it's Vasarela and whatever. And they convinced me to do it, which is really stupid because I know now better that I shouldn't listen to anything they say. And my daughter got it. She's She was in preschool, so she was probably about 3. Mm-hmm. And within 2 weeks, she had chickenpox. She had chickenpox. Now, I am going to say that it was much milder than any chickenpox case that I had. I remember mine was pretty bad. I had them really bad. And hers they were just small dots, but her whole body was covered in dots. And, the doctor said, well, but look, it protected her from a more severe case.
Maybe, maybe not.
Maybe not. Exactly. And why, if like you tell us for all of these vaccinations that they're attenuated or killed viruses, why would she get it like right after getting the vaccine? You know, kind of like you get the flu vaccine and then you get the flu and then they're like, no, it had nothing to do with the vaccine.
And what do legislators know more about vaccines than we do? I mean,
and what do legislatures give 2 shits about your kid than you do? Shouldn't you be responsible? And you're responsible in every other part of the way that if you're not doing something like that stupid ass dentist who threatened me, the dental assistant who threatened me saying that I was neglecting my kid because I didn't want him to keep constantly sticking my kid into the x-ray machine for unnecessary x-rays that she didn't need. Because she has really nice looking perfect teeth that are coming in absolutely perfectly.
Right.
Why would you have to put them into that panoramic array that everything I read about it says, oh, we think it might cause all kinds of horrible cancers now, and you should only use it when it's absolutely necessary. And when I brought up the fact that all radiation is cumulative throughout your lifetime, and who the hell is tracking all the radiation we get in our lifetime? You know, all the x-rays that I got in the 70s from the big, huge honkers next to my face, and the radioactive iodine they made me drink when they said I had thyroid problems, and all of the chest x-rays I've had to get throughout the years, and the sinus x-rays, and the mammograms, and the CAT scans. Think about that.
That's a lot, you know.
Oh man, I've had tons.
You're a little kid.
Yeah. And don't add to that all the radiation that's, since we were kids, they were doing all the nuclear testing that ended up in our air and our water and our food. We're jumping around in puddles in the 70s, drinking water out of the hose, drinking milk. And we know that it was all irradiated. Now add Fukushima to all that and then go, oh, holy shit, cancer just became the #1 mode of death in the U.S. But hey, the cancer industry and Big Pharma is just kicking it out of the park. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Go figure.
Yeah.
You know, I get so pissed over this shit.
That's just like that announcement that they did on the news years back that they had discovered mercury is good for kids.
Yeah. Mercury is good
about as insane as you can get.
Somebody says, radiation is good for you. That was not Sanjay Gupta. That was, what's her name? Oh, that woman. Everybody wanted to, like, rip her eyes out. Oh, that annoying yes, Ann Coulter. Thank you, Dal.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, well, you want me to prove there is a meltdown? I sent you an article from a woman that actually is over there who's been collecting all the information. I mean, I'll tell you what, my charts, my rad meter has had the highest readings since a week after Fukushima here for the last 2 to 3 weeks.
Yep, and they
said
that
I'm
we're
not
gonna hit our peak.
I don't know, guys. I'm at 35 hitting peaks, and I've never hit 35s, except for right after Fukushima. So, explain to me what's going on there, and I don't give a shit what's causing it. And you know what? I'll tell you what. You know what else is in the Ukraine? Is Chernobyl. Yeah. And that's all crumbling. So good luck. And you know what? I'll tell you what. I saw stories that came out of the Ukraine, since I maintain the Fukushima Facts page, that in the very beginning they had said, hey, we were trying to swap out the fuel rods. The Westinghouse is in the middle of all this, by the way. Yeah. We're trying to swap out the fuel rods and they got stuck. And then there was a power outage. And then they're like, uh-oh, we only have 5 days. So the time was ticking. And at the 5th day, then a story came out and they said, holy shit, we need help, we need help. It got real quiet. And then you didn't hear anything. And that was at the end of November. I think it started on November 23rd. Then November 28th, they came out screaming, we need help, we need help. And then mainstream got on it and said, there's nothing to worry about. Don't worry about it. They put a brand new guy in charge in the Ukraine of nuclear power, and he said, no, we just had a little power outage. That's it. There's nothing to worry about. And that's the end of that. So I'm going to tell you what, you better believe there's probably something going on there. If you followed anything about any nuclear anything, you better believe there's probably a problem. I'm going to tell you what, if you're questioning that there's a problem, then why don't you go eat a fuel rod? That pisses me off. Why would you say, prove to me that there's a problem? How about don't prove to me? How about prove to me that you're not releasing shit from every one of these reactors? How about that? They're releasing it from every reactor. Huh?
And all of it going in the ocean still.
No, I'm not talking Fukushima. I'm talking every nuclear reactor on the planet. When they're cycling, when they're changing fuel rods, why don't you read about that process? They release, they turn off all their meters, and then they swap out the rods. And you know why? Because they get elevated readings. Every single one of them. If you live downwind of a nuclear reactor, you're breathing nuclear breakfast.
Right.
All right. I don't know. Is there a meltdown? Who gives a fuck? I'm not talking about Ukraine. Did you hear me having a discussion about Ukraine? Why don't you research it yourself instead of making it my responsibility? I think I do enough. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I was talking about vaccines, not Ukraine. I'm going to get back to my story. You know what? Instead of throwing questions at me, do your own research and bring me proof that there isn't a meltdown in Ukraine. How's that? I gave you proof yesterday that there was a meltdown in Ukraine or something anomalous going on.
That's being kept from it.
Well, you know why it's going to be kept secret is because Westinghouse is involved. Westinghouse is one of the military-industrial complex and is the way for the U.S. to get their foot in the door. And you know why? Because Russia is trying to build nuclear reactors all over India and Iran. And they're waving their nuclear fuel all over Europe. Get it? Get it? Yes. All right. The third plaintiff, Dina Czech, was denied an exemption by school officials. I'm not looking at chat anymore, by the way. Was denied an exemption by school officials who said her views on vaccines were health-related and not based on sincere religious belief. The court on Wednesday agreed. Now, I'm going to read that again because I want you to understand what that means. So the first two plaintiffs were Catholic. They received a religious exemption from vaccine law. They sued, though, because their kids were barred from attending school during a chickenpox outbreak when they didn't have the chickenpox vaccine. Like I said, the chickenpox vaccine is bullshit. We didn't have it as a kid, and when my kid got it, she got chickenpox. But the third plaintiff was denied the vaccine exemption because they said that even though she went for religious exemption, she wasn't sincerely religious.
Now, how can they say that?
Yeah. How can they say that? And then it was based on health-related concerns, not religious concerns. Are you kidding me? How about my religious concerns are I don't want my kid turned into a cyborg with your synthetic virus-like nanoparticles going into my kid?
You know, I don't even think you should have to go through all this to not do something to your child. It's your child. You're the parent. You are responsible for them. So why is outside influence even matter?
I don't understand it. No, I know.
Mm.
And so what? Now what I got to join a church? I got to join a church and pretend that I have religion to be able to get an exemption?
That's crazy.
I got to cut off chicken heads and spray blood around a room? Or dance and sing with snakes? Is that what I gotta do?
The logic there doesn't make sense, and it never has to me. If your child has been inoculated, what does it matter if they come in contact with someone with chickenpox? They've been they're vaccinated against it. If it worked, there would not be no problem.
Right. And then they point to the non-vaccinated children saying, well, you're the problem. You're the one that's spreading the disease. Well, you know what? If you're so sure that your vaccines work, then those kids will never get it.
Right.
The ones that are vaccinated will be fine.
So the logic tells you that this is all upside down. And there's got to be another reasoning behind it.
Well, they're playing.
Companies.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, the schools get kickbacks from the state for every vaccinated kid.
Aha.
Who was
I
just,
didn't know that.
I didn't know that either, and someone was just telling me that, and sure than shit they do. I was reading into New York State, they all get money from the state when the kids are vaccinated, and they gotta keep it up to a certain percentage. Just like for snow days. You know, I found out
They don't get paid on snow days, yeah.
the school district by where I grew up, my old school district, in Buffalo, actually made the kids go to school the week between Christmas and New Year. And you want to know why? Because they were off that week when they got the 7 feet of snow.
Oh yeah, because the schools that's why they care if your kid's in school. They don't care that they're educated. They care because they get money
They
for
get
your
their
kid
kickbacks.
attending.
Absolutely. Yep. And when attendance is down, that gets cut.
Mm-hmm.
But can you believe they made the kids go to school during the week between Christmas and New Year? I mean,
to make up for those.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Hey, how many parents don't schedule their vacations at the end of the year after they've saved it all up, use it or lose it vacation, to be off when the kids are off? You know what I'm saying? I mean, people probably plan vacations during that time.
Well, yeah, I always did.
Me too. I always say my vacation. I do long weekend at Memorial Day, long weekend at 4th of July, and then I'd usually tack like the week after 4th of July, where you'd have the day off, so you could get a whole week for only 4 days off. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you get the holiday in there. So you tag on the weekends on both ends. You get like 10 days for the price of 4. I was always into trying to figure out the most economic ways for whatever. No, I squeak. Remember that.
Yeah.
And then at Christmas time, and then Thanksgiving, you tack another day on. And then at the end of the year, I'd have like 6 days or something left over. So I could take it off all the way. And with the 2 days off with New Year, and you'd get like the extra day off for New Year's Eve usually, and Christmas Eve, they'd usually give you half a day. And you'd end up with like almost 2 weeks off at the end of the year. What idiot would think that it was a good idea to send the kids, that's their one big break, their one happy time. It's Christmas season, it's snow, it's sledding. Why in God's name would you make kids go to school the week?
Well, kids' happiness is not their,
But that's bullshit.
Point.
You know what? There's enough bullshit holidays during the school year after Christmas that they could tack them on. Like, how about Lincoln's birthday? Mm-hmm. You know, no one else gets that off. The parents don't get that off. They usually got to take a day off just to watch the kid, or they got to pay for daycare or whatever. Right. What about all the superintendent bullshit conferences that you guys take off with the teachers, that there's no holiday? And again, the parents have to find a way for the kid to be watched because they got to go to work. How about you cancel those days and put the kids in school? Don't cancel Christmas to New Year.
I know, that's when you go visit family and
you got your new toys, and like I said, if you got vacation left over, you take it so you could spend it with the family.
Right.
You know, it's cold. If you're gonna go to Disneyland, that's probably the time to go. You know, I don't know. To me, that just seemed so mean-spirited, and my school district was always a bunch of assholes. They never gave us snow days. So I don't know. If I were a parent, I would have raised hell down there. You know, how about, I wouldn't have even have minded as a parent if they tacked it on at the end of the school year for an extra week.
There you go.
You know, or how about a couple extra Saturdays? I don't know, send the bus on the Saturdays when the parents are home. Take them for a half a day. Or, hey, how about some online education? You know, I've talked about this before. I was doing online training to 1,700 people back in the mid-90s at a corporate level, okay? There is no reason in 2015 that we don't have some sort of online education plan for everybody, college and lower grades.
My daughter got a degree doing online.
Well, yeah, they have degrees now. A lot of the colleges still are kind of shady, but over the last few years, you've seen places like the Ivy League colleges jumping on board and at least putting their coursework on there. But I mean, I'm telling you, it was 1996 or 1997. I was training on a daily basis 1,700 people online. Mm-hmm. And then Microsoft bought the software, so I'm sure it's way beyond what it was in 1997. And that's almost 20 years ago. How come it is not rolled out for all of our school districts. They're all worried about pandemic and sending your kids to school if they're unvaccinated. There's an outbreak. Yeah, everybody could stay home. You got a snow day? Guess what? Everybody could stay home. Your teacher's doing the lecture from her house.
Right.
And the kids are all sitting in their warm little bedrooms on their notebooks that are school issued with all of our tax dollars that you can't even afford to buy the fucking class glue sticks. Telling me I gotta buy 20 of them. You know, that pisses me off.
Well, all the money goes to the superintendent.
For his salary.
Paycheck.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So he can ruin your family vacation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is really absolute utter bullshit. It is so easy to do online learning now. And I mean, there's all these companies that's what they focus on. I mean, from a corporate perspective, they've been doing it for years.
Yep.
It's not hard. And every computer pretty much has a webcam now. You know, teachers, hey, guess what? Why don't you record your lessons? And then just put them up for download if you don't want to do it live in real time. How about kids that get sick, that are out? Or how about teenagers that get pregnant? And then you got to pay for a tutor to go sit at their house every day. Mm-hmm. You know what? The kid could still be in their class, taking their lessons on a daily basis from what's uploaded from the class syllabus.
Education was the real purpose here.
Exactly. Not about making sure warm bodies are in school so you get that fat paycheck from the state and the federal government.
It all comes back to money.
It sure does. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. I
know. It just infuriates you.
It does. And the more you dig, the more you go, what the fuck? Why are they so stupid? Well, they're so stupid because they're intentionally that stupid.
Yep. Common sense, like I said, has left the planet. You know, it just like with the vaccines. If vaccines work, then you don't worry about people who don't have the shot.
Well, exactly.
I don't know. Just like that whooping cough outbreak. I think wasn't it back east? And then, almost all people that got it had been vaccinated against it?
It was west. It was the whole upper western Pacific Northwest that came down with that whooping cough. And yes, most of the kids that had gotten it ended up being the ones who were vaccinated. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously they don't work. And why should you have to go?
Well, I'm not saying they don't work, but I'm saying that whatever technology they're using is obviously not working. Mm-hmm. You know. Here, wait, let's find that Gardasil, however you say it.
Gardasil.
This was Robert Scott Bell actually posted the story yesterday. Yeah, HPV vaccine. Deaths reported after HPV vaccine have been filed about Gardasil and Cervarix, so I guess there's another one. Since they were approved in 2006 to 2007, the SaneVax team was shocked when the latest available update from VAERS, which is the VAERS, the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System that they are required to keep, database revealed 34 death reports after HPV vaccines in a single month.
Holy
month!
Shit!
It has been estimated that less than 10% adverse events are reported to VAERS. Yeah, I don't think that they have to report them. I don't think that that's a requirement, or that they find ways to not report them. Hold on, we're going to see if we can get this story to load. My kid is not getting this vaccine.
Well, a lot of times the reaction comes later, and then it's a
plausible deniability. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there was an underlying issue. Your daughter had a myocardial infraction that wasn't picked up when, you know what I mean?
Oh,
she had heart problems that wasn't picked
There's always
up when
another reason,
born.
not the shot.
All right, let's read the story. HPV vaccines, 34 deaths reported in 1 month. Death reports after HPV vaccines have been filed at a rate of less than 5 per month since Gardasil and Cervarix were approved for use in the United States in 2006 and 2007. Hold on, Zorie, you need to talk for a second.
Okay. Yeah, the Gardasil has not been proven to work anywhere. And I don't know, I was in sheer shock when California, when they passed that legislation.
Hey, guys, We got problems.
Uh-oh.
We have the main power company here now. There's a major problem here. They got to turn off the power at least a minute or two. They got to run some diagnostics here. So I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to drop this in the chat, and you guys need to sing to yourselves. And we'll be back as soon as we can.
Okay.
I guess I'll talk. Well, go ahead. I'll talk until the power goes out. Oh, I guess here it comes. Here it comes.
Bye.
Bye. All right, I think we're back again. Sorry about that. Okay, so now you have the story so we can all read along except for the people that aren't in chat. All right, so let's read along. Anyway, the same Vax team was shocked when the latest available updates from the VAERS, which is the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System database, revealed that 34 death reports after the HP vaccines were reported in a single month. You can pretty much bet that any anomaly of this magnitude bears investigation. The SaneVax team decided to run a search for only the deaths reported after the administration of HPV vaccines within the last month. 35 death reports showed up. We assumed one was prior to the close of the previous month's stats. The other 34 are identical reports from, quote, a nurse via a company sales representative, unquote. To run the same search, go to medalerts.org and choose HPV vaccines, and that would include the HPV2, HPV4, and HPVX. Death and a lower appeared on the VAERS of October 2014 and run the same search our team did. You might want to take a look and see what you think. Several questions come to mind. Go ahead.
I mean, it should be taken off the market immediately. How many have to die?
I don't know, but I'm telling you what, I've been watching this very closely because again, this is another vaccine that was not around when we were kids, that when I started digging into the Ebola vaccine, it's when I discovered the company making the HPV. They had all of their documents out there, how this new technology works using these virus-like particles, which are these patented nanoparticle containers that they're putting into your kid. And I was like, whoa! Nanoparticles, this is not going into my kid.
Right.
And then, there have been so many reports of, there was a case here in local Rochester, there were like 10 girls that all ended up with narcolepsy after the fact. And the parents were saying, well, they had just gotten that vaccine. The Department of Health is going, nah, it can't be the vaccine. I think it's a toxic waste dump nearby.
Oh,
you never heard anything more about that. You had the one report when I took my daughter to the pediatrician, and we had this discussion, and the one report that was published in a medical journal out of England about she was like 12 or something, the girl that had gone into menopause, and they had directly tied it to the vaccination.
But those stories get hushed up real quick.
Yeah, they sure do. They sure do. And hey, like I said before, if I learn anything from living in Microsoft world and all my tech life, it is don't be version 1.0. Ever.
Yep.
Ever.
Right.
Do you want your child, the child that you almost died for in childbirth? I mean, that's my whole thing. I almost died to have this kid, okay? And it took me like 7 years to bounce back after all the havoc that it wreaked on my body. After all that, am I just going to put my kid up and say, sure, go ahead and experiment on them?
Yeah,
absolutely not. Absolutely not. You know what? I literally almost died, and within the last 10 years, I had 3 close calls in my life, so it's not going to happen. Not. And New York State thinking that they're going to make this a mandatory vaccine? Oh, I don't think so.
Everyone... the vaccines affect everyone differently. How can just one straight across the board for everybody? Doesn't make sense anyway.
Well, the doctor trying to tell me that I asked her, why would they be requiring this for boys as well?
I know.
She's telling me that it prevents anal cancer. That's why. What? Yes, there's so
many young boys with anal
cancer. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I know that the virus that causes HPV is the venereal warts. Okay?
Yeah.
That from what I understand, it's venereal warts. Well, first of all, maybe you should be a little more careful with your sexual partners.
Right.
But second of all, if you're getting venereal warts in the anal area and you're a boy, then I would say you might have a little bigger problem.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. To me, this is wrong. This should be given. And they said, well, it can't be given in an adult state because they need to get it starting when they're young. And there's a whole bunch of doses. The thing is, this should be offered at an adult level. And if somebody at an adult level actually reads all the documentation and understands it and decides that they want to be a guinea pig, then hey, go right ahead and become a pincushion. But don't go trying to scare some young prepubescent girl
to
take one of these who's then going to find out at 20 that she's barren. And then find out that, oh, it was the vaccine. And then have like all the ambulance chaser lawyers out there trying to get you to sign on to a class action lawsuit. How many drugs are like that now?
Yeah, it's a circle. It just goes around and around.
Actually, it really is. Here, we're going to read this. So I'm trying to understand what this whole article is about. So did they fake all these deaths, or are there really all these deaths? So several questions immediately come to mind, such as, is Merck trying to muddy the VAERS waters even more by stacking the death count? And this is Merck, by the way. I wouldn't trust them as far as you could throw them.
Right.
If so, why did they not include all 72 reports referred to in the 35 that were submitted to VAERS? So there's 72 reports?
Wow.
Why are the reports submitted by a sales rep? And that's a very good question. And I'm going to bring something else up. You know, all this robotic surgery that's kind of coming down the pike. That's something else that I've been reading about. There's lawsuits, about these surgical machines going crazy. And I was reading, there was one lawsuit that I remember reading in particular, and what came up in the lawsuit is that the sales rep for the surgical machine was actually doing the surgery.
What?
Yes! And I'm going to tell you what, these pharmaceutical companies, I had a coworker whose son, 18 or 19-year-old son, right out of high school, got a job as a pharmaceutical sales rep. And this was back, I'm going to say probably 2001, 2002, so it was quite a number of years ago. But he was making bank. You know what? He'd go in and be whining and dining these doctors, and you know what? And remember, with Obamacare, we looked at all that. Obamacare was voted by Congress not to be a medical plan. And by not being a medical plan, it's not covered under any of the anti-fraud laws that they passed that had protected Medicare and Medicaid. So all the butt patting and the slippery palm rubbing, money, back slapping, hand exchanging, bribes and whatever are absolutely legal.
I know, that's insane too.
So your doctor, his first response isn't going to be, hey, maybe you should stop eating cheeseburgers and genetically modified food. His first response is going to be, here, there's this new pill that came out.
This pill.
Yeah, start taking these and don't read the side effects about anal leakage and myocardial infraction and your head blowing up while you're sleeping. Don't mind those because that only happens in 1% of the cases that ever get reported. And don't worry about it because you can take the generic equivalent that's produced in China. That is covered under your Obamacare health plan. I mean, it's one big dirty industry. And it's gotten dirtier with Obamacare. And before Obamacare was passed, that big dirty pharmaceutical bill. That they said, oh, it's going to save Americans millions of dollars on pills. No, it isn't. Now they force you to buy like 3 months at a time and do it mail order, and they're only generics.
Yep.
It's horrible. This whole thing is, they're all corrupted, and it's all about money. They don't give two shits. And remember, I told you guys so long ago, remember, R&D, research and development, is a line item on a budget in a public company. And when that number is high, which it typically is, because R&D is how you come up with all your new patented products for next year, when that number is high, your stockholders and shareholders are not happy. So, hey, let's give them the full American public to use as their guinea pigs and the real-time live research and development. And now that $10 million number goes down to, a manageable number, like $1 million or $100,000. And as you pay your ASP-based service, $29.99 a month, to subscribe to the newly formed federal database of all the electronic health records of every person in Obamacare across America, you could start seeing trends. And now you don't have to do research and development because we'll just sell it to you.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. 100%. They'll be able to track all your food you eat, remember, with your little grocery store cards and see how much of the new version of this GMO 2.0 you're ingesting with the RNAi in it. And see who has...
Doctors, we used to respect them. They really were out to try and help people. But that changed 30 years ago. It started revolving into this money thing.
All I've done with every doctor I've had in the last, I'd say 10 plus years since I woke up to bullshit is arguments. Every doctor, major arguments. They keep trying to push shit on me that I know isn't right. And they always have these bullshit arguments for me as to why, we've been doing it this way for 30 years and why should you be any different?
Right.
That was that one asshole that wanted to cut out my thyroid. And I said, well, I never had thyroid problems before. Right. It just happened out of the blue. Why would you cut out my thyroid? If you're going to give me thyroid, in the beginning I was hyper, like who wouldn't believe that? But in the beginning I was hyperthyroid. And so they wanted to give me, whatever it's called. I don't even remember what the drug is called, to knock it down. And I was having some definite reactions to the drugs. I'm sensitive to things. And, he says, well, the only course of treatment then is to cut out your thyroid. And that's when you get that, they call that the thyroid necklace or something.
Yeah.
I mean, you literally, that scar will always be on your neck.
And you need your thyroid.
You need it. Well, I asked him, I said, so what happens if I get my thyroid taken out? He's like, well, you're going to have to take replacement hormones then for the rest of your life. I said, but what if I'm allergic to it like I am for the hyper? He's like, well, then you die.
Yeah, he said that?
Yeah, he did say that. Wow. And I'm like, well, this isn't looking like such a good solution then. And he's like, well, I said, how come I couldn't, have you do a blood test and say, okay, well, your thyroid is overproducing, by 30%. Mm-hmm. And then give me some of that, because they already made me drink that glumpy gray radioactive iodine to do all those tests, which, by the way, I read now they don't do that anymore. You know why?
Right,
they discovered it caused salivary cancers. Mm-hmm. So they don't do that anymore. So how nice is that? Like, radioactive iodine 131 is why you take, iodine when there's a nuclear accident. So you take regular iodine so that radioactive iodine 131 doesn't accumulate in your thyroid. When they're doing thyroid tests, trying to determine whether or not you have any hot nodules, they make you drink they used to make you drink radioactive iodine, so then it will all accumulate in your thyroid, and then you lay for an hour underneath this large thing that looks like an upside down massive Hershey's kiss that's pointing at your throat, taking readings. And I don't even know what that is or how that works or what, was that putting x-rays on me? I mean, I don't know.
Right. It could have been.
I have no idea. And then they came back and they said, yeah, you got some hot spots. Well, yeah, except I also drank radioactive iodine and had it accumulate in my thyroid as if I was in the middle of a nuclear meltdown. How horrible is that? And there was an endocrinologist asshole that did that to me. And then told me that, what they've been doing for 50 years and what makes me so special, because I didn't want to get my thyroid cut out.
Wow.
I found a different doctor at that point. I
have
to fuck off.
Years, and that's why I can't find logic to a lot of the answers they come up with. It's just.
Well, his answer was wrong. You know, when my mother's primary care was an endocrinologist, so I got my second opinion. My mother trusted her doctor, so I went to her doctor and got a second opinion. And do you know what she told me? She said, what an asshole that guy was, because that is what we do. We take a look at how much over you are, and then we try to treat you and knock it down. We don't go cutting out a thyroid. We monitor you. So you know what? I went every 6 months for blood tests, and they monitored me for 1.5 years. And you know what? Exactly what I said to him. My thyroid problems came out of the blue. Who's to say they're not going to go back to normal? And they did.
Yeah.
And it ends up, it wasn't even thyroid problems. I was having an autoimmune problem. And it was my body trying to attack my thyroid and kill it. And my thyroid was overreacting, trying to prevent my immune system from killing my thyroid. It was a way bigger problem. It wasn't a thyroid problem. It was an autoimmune disease problem that was caused by all the GMOs I was eating.
Well, misdiagnosis is the -- killer in this country.
Sure is. You know, I wish I remembered that asshole's name. Because that would be, that was an absolute misdiagnosis. And I would have been suffering for the rest of my life because of that.
Or you could have died if you were allergic to the medication.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So don't believe, there are people out there that still take for face value what doctors say.
Oh, I know. And
don't do it. Don't do it. You know what? I always kind of equated them to a tech. Except they're a body tech, not a computer tech. And if you brought your computer to me and you had problems, and then you took it to my friends, and then you took it to Zorie, same computer, same problems, we might all come up with the same solution, or we might all come up with something different. We might all come up with the same problem and then go, oh, or we might come up with something different. Maybe you got multiple problems.
But or maybe we go at different ways to fix it.
Exactly. And it's all based upon your experience as a tech.
Right.
Right? If you've never run into it, then you're not going to know that, oh, there's another issue that could be causing this. You know what I mean?
But doctors just, they're always so sure about.
Well, they're cocky, a lot of them.
Yeah, real cocky.
And they don't like to be questioned. And you know what? That's why, I'll tell you what, the 3 female doctors that I had in my early years, all 3 of which who are no longer doctors because they hated the system, were ones that were very open-minded, and we would have a discussion. And they always allowed me to make my own decisions and to do research and to bring them research. And we got along great. Any male doctor I ever had was a fuckhead. Because you know what? He didn't want to hear what I had to say. And I wasn't right because you know what? I'm on the internet. That pesky internet that might have other solutions. And mind you, in those days, I wasn't looking at alternative treatments. I wasn't looking at any of the herbal shit that I know about now. Just back in those days, I was looking at studies going, well, hey, did you know that there were studies that said that this isn't necessarily the best way of treatment? Well, and that's where I got this. Well, for 50 years we've been doing it this way and blah, blah, blah. What makes you think you're so special? Literally, that's what he said to me. You there? Zorie? I guess we lost Zorie. Oh, the day just keeps getting better. All right. I hope I'm still on the air. I think so. I see my equalizer going. Zorie's connected. She just vanished. So I don't know what else to say. I guess this HPV vaccine, any of the states, and I don't know, I think in Texas, I remember Rick Perry wanted to make it mandatory. I don't know if he ever did, though. Here, states where HPV, vac is required. Are you there now? Zorie? Hello? Oh, I know you guys can hear me. I don't know. She's gone. And she can't hear me. Well, hang up and call back in, Zorie. And I gotta try and type this and talk, so hold on. Since she can't hear me, and she can't hang up. Call back There you go. All right. HPV vaccine state legislation and statutes. Mandatory HPV immunization for middle school girls, current state regulations. Let's look at this. This makes me so angry over the fact that they're going to force your kid to get something that is so new. I mean, where are the generations worth of research on this? Because there aren't. We do not have generations worth of research. All right, California. California. Holy shit. California. Current state requirements. HPV vaccine required for all 7th grade girls, public and private schools. No opt-out mentioned. Colorado. HPV vaccine required for 6th grade girls for any school attendance, but you can opt out for any reason. Are you back? I see you connected. There you are. Zorie. All right, the next one, Connecticut. Zorie, I think your headset's broken or something. Check your headset. All right. Connecticut, HPV vaccine required for 6th grade students, not specific to females. Opt-out is for medical or religious purposes. Florida, HPV vaccine required for 11 or 12-year-old students, not specific to females. Public, private schools, but parents can opt them out. Georgia, HPV vaccine required for all 6th grade girls, public or private. Hawaii requires insurance providers to cover HPV vaccine, directs the Department of Health to include the HPV vaccine in the teen vaccination program. Indiana, Amendment 2 committee to remove the mandate for HPV vaccine requires schools to provide info to 6th grade students on HPV and the link to cervical cancer as well as the availability of the vaccine. Illinois, HPV vaccine required for all 6th grade girls, public or private schools, but there is a parental mandate or a parental opt-out, It requires the Department of Public Health to produce and distribute info on the HPV vaccine. And it is, that is a repeat. Another one. They had 3 bills in Illinois. Kansas, HPV vaccine required for all 6th grade girls, parental opt-out for medical, religious reasons. Kentucky, HPV vaccine required for public, private, middle school girls, no opt-out mentioned. Massachusetts, HPV vaccine required for all 6th grade girls. Maryland, HPV vaccine required for all 6th grade girls, no opt-out mentioned. Maine, HPV vaccine required for all 6th grade girls. Michigan, HPV vaccine required for all 6th grade girls, public and private, parental opt-out. You there, Zorie?
Yeah, I'm back.
All right, cool. Michigan's got a whole ton, 1, 2, 3, 4 bills that were passed. Parents can opt out or opt in for Michigan. Minnesota, HPV vaccine required for female students, 12 to 19. Parental opt-out with a notarized statement. Missouri, HPV vaccine required for 6th grade girls, changed from opt-out to opt-in. Parental consent required. That's what it should be.
Right.
Parental consent, but it should not be required. It should be optional.
You know, that's what gets me. Like that other girl, they're forcing to have chemo at 17, almost 18, but yet they give responsibility for a child 12 years old to make the decision in some cases.
Yeah, well, let me finish all these states.
Okay.
It's HPV.
Okay.
Mississippi, unlawful to enroll without an HPV vaccine in all public and private schools. North Carolina, no mandate, information provided to parents on the HPV vaccine. There you go. There's some common sense. Wow, leave it to North Carolina. New Jersey, HPV vaccine required for all females grades 7 to 12 as a condition of enrollment. Opt out for medical or religious reasons. Moral or philosophical objection is not sufficient. Oh. New Mexico, HPV vaccine required of female students ages 9 to 14, parental opt-out. You know, I'm going to ask you, I wonder how many of these schools receive funding from Merck.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Because I was just reading something about schools are now getting, like, kickbacks from companies such as McDonald's. That they're helping fund projects at schools. And how great is that? No, it's not. It's putting the corporatocracy now into our school district where they're going to help make decisions.
Right. 9 years old. Wow, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, that's why I'm freaking out.
Wow.
Ohio, HPV vaccine required for girls entering 6th grade from public, chartered, non-public community schools, but there is a parental opt-out. Oklahoma, HPV vaccine required for all 6th grade girls, public and private. South Carolina, HPV vaccine required for all 7th grade girls, public and private, parental opt-out. Texas, overturned Governor Perry's executive order on HPV vaccine, and it may not be required for school admission. Yeah, you know, Perry did pass an executive order, and I am wondering if he had some sort of Merck donation for his upcoming presidential run.
Well, he was the first to introduce this.
He sure was. Yep. For all my Texas friends that told me how great Perry was when he stood up against the feds for, I think it was the TSA. Remember that?
Yeah.
And then this happened. I said, how can you defend him? He wants to kill all your school-aged girls.
Right.
Make them friggin' guinea pigs. How is that a good governor?
Yeah, I see Merck's hands in a lot of this.
Utah requires Utah Department of Health to establish a public awareness campaign. There you go.
Yeah,
except that you're going to make a bullshit public awareness
True.
campaign and tell everyone how prevalent cervical cancer is in the neighborhood. It's not. You know what? That's what pap smears are for. And you know what? They've been working pretty well. So this is bullshit. Personally, I would be more worried about ovarian cancer. Ovarian cancer, which shows no signs or symptoms until later on, and there's no test for it.
Right.
And ovarian cancer, if you get it, a lot of times it'll kill you.
Most of the time.
Because it's always advanced, typically, when they find it. Why would you not come up with, I mean, if you're going to come up with a vaccine for something, come up with a vaccine for something like that. Not cervical, that if you go for your yearly exam, they do a test.
Well, how many girls do you know of that age have cervical cancer in the first place?
They say that it prevents it later in life.
Yeah, right.
And anal cancer for boys, remember?
Yeah, right. Don't forget that.
I mean, I don't know. This to me, just like the chickenpox vaccine, it's another one that we've had the disease out there forever. The numbers have been relatively low. For chickenpox, I'm sure there are probably some people who died from chickenpox, maybe a small few that had some adverse reaction or brain swelling or something, but the majority of children got chickenpox and did just fine.
Right. I never knew anyone when I was growing up that died of chickenpox, and not everyone got it.
Right. Me neither. And cervical cancer, like I said, if you go for your yearly screenings, that's what a pap smear is. They're looking for abnormal cell changes, okay? And there are signs, too, of beginnings of cervical cancer and abnormalities that you notice long before there's a major problem.
Right.
But like I said, ovarian, there isn't. Ovarian is something that they don't do testing for. And that there aren't outward signs until it's advanced. So why would you not come up with a vaccine for something like that?
And now what about the ones that are dying from this? There's no recourse? Or they how do you prove it beyond a doubt or
well, that's
whatever?
it. That's this VERS thing that are reported, and then you have to go in front of, they have this vaccine liability pool of cash that you have to go and prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that it was the vaccination that did it to even get any type of monetary compensation. And then it's capped to boot.
And the girls that get Tourette's and other things that are
right. That's very hard to prove.
Right.
It's very hard to prove that or I don't know if they get Tourette's, but they get the narcolepsy.
Yeah, that too. But and why if the girl's fine, she gets the shot, and then she develops this. I mean, what more proof do they need?
Right. Well, then they say, well, maybe it's something environmental, like they did here in Rochester. Oh, it must be the dump that's nearby.
Yeah.
And there was like 10 girls.
Mm-hmm.
And they all had the same symptoms, and they all had just gotten their vaccinations before school started.
Right, but that's not proof enough.
No. All right, a little bit more. So we had Utah, Virginia, HPV vaccine required for all females on or after their 11th birthday, required for admission to school, but they do allow an opt-out for medical religious reasons. Vermont, and I'm going to tell you something though. This ruling in the New York Manhattan court that I just read at the beginning of the show about how medical reason for you being against it and not being religious may not be enough. Right? All laws based upon precedent, remember.
Right.
Vermont, HPV vaccine required for 6th grade female students, parental opt-out. And Washington. Oh, there's 2 more. Washington, no mandate. Information provided to parents on HPV vaccine. And West Virginia is the last one. HPV vaccine required for all 6th grade girls. Teachers required to report 6th grade girls who are not immunized to the county health officer, and there is no opt-out.
Wow.
And this data isn't even updated apparently, because this says that it was last updated in April of 2007.
Oh my God.
Shit. So it's even worse than that now, I'm sure.
So why aren't they keeping up on the reports? Scary.
I don't know. Here's the CDC. How common is HPV? Oh, yes. HPV is very common. In fact, it is the most common sexually transmitted infection in the United States. Do you know, out of all of my friends, and I've had thousands of them over the years, I have only known one person who caught this, and we knew the person that she caught it from, and he knew he had it before they had a relationship, and the dumbass didn't say anything.
I've never known anyone that had it, and I know a lot of people too. So, it's not common.
It's bullshit. Most people become infected and they don't even know they have it. No, there's signs. Trust me, there's signs. Oh.
It makes me so angry. God.
Yeah.
The lives to ruin.
I'm looking here to see if the CDC gives a list.
No.
Go ahead.
All they have to do is say it's so, and it's so.
Well, just like the economy's better.
Mm-hmm.
CNN headlines with no link. Yes, the economy's better. Everyone believe it because we say so. Who should get it? All kids who are 11 and 12 should get the 3-dose series. Teen boys and girls who did not get the vaccine when they were younger should get it now. Young women can get it through age 26, and young men can get it through age 21. The vaccine is also recommended for gay and bisexual young men, and also for young men with compromised immune systems, including HIV, through age 26 if they didn't get it when they were younger. So, if you can get it through age 21 for boys and 26 for girls, why are they making, in some cases, 9-year-olds?
9-year-olds, right.
Is this not disgusting? This is disgusting.
the government is too much in our lives. And now they're controlling our children, and we can't, they give you no recourse when they take away, your opt out. What do you do? I mean, what?
It's disgusting.
And then when your child dies afterwards, and you can't prove it.
Oh, should boys get HPV vaccine? It's obvious that my pediatrician must have read the CDC page of FAQs. One HPV vaccine, the quadrivalent vaccine called Gardasil. Quadrivalent? Is that 4 times? What's quadrivalent? I never heard that.
I never heard that before.
Is also for boys. This vaccine helps prevent boys from getting infected with the types of HPV that cause cancers of the throat, penis, and anus. How many penis cancers do you know of?
I never heard of that one. That's
Me neither. Nope. Me neither. That's interesting. Quadrivalent. Flu mist quadrivalent. Quadrivalent influenza vaccine. FDA approves the first quadrivalent vaccine. I bet you this has to do with some sort of crazy freaking nanotech. Hold on. This is a flu vaccine that is quadrivalent. Flu mist quadrivalent, a vaccine to prevent seasonal influenza ages 2 through 49 has been approved today by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. Do they say what quadrivalent means? I have never seen or heard that term. Definition by a medical dictionary. Let's see. Quadrivalent, having 4 valences. Okay, a chemical element or a radical with a valence of 4. Having the combined power valency of 4. So they're doing 4 things at once?
I guess.
I don't know. It kills 4 things at once? Sounds scary to me. Oh, GlaxoSmithKline. FDA approves the quadrivalent vaccine. Wow. What is flu mist quadrivalent?
Yeah.
Yeah, so just know, people, do your research. Do not believe anything they tell you. Do your research. Holy shit, is it getting fucking cold in here? Oh, I hope I can turn this little heater on. It might go on. Oh, I can't feel my toes right now.
Oh no.
It's 19 degrees. I don't know how cold it is in here, but my toes are froze.
And you're hearing about frostbite happening a lot now with that real quick cold coming on. People aren't ready for.
Yeah. Ooh. Oh, goodness.
Your heater come on?
This little one that's out here that's plugged into 110 did.
Good. Put your feet on it.
Yeah, it doesn't get that warm. This room is freezing. All right, what do we look at next? I don't know.
That's just, I get so drained when I think of this, and I think of all the innocent children that are going to suffer because of it.
Yeah.
And the parents can't do anything about it. But just, I don't know.
Can you talk about something for a second so I can run up and just check on what's going on here?
Okay. Yeah. I don't know what the recourse is. I mean, I'm glad my daughter's grown and I don't have that decision, because I remember one case of a lady, she didn't want her child vaccinated and to take the vaccine. And so she took her daughter and went to Canada just to protect her. And they found her in Canada, and they took the child away from her, brought her back down, and gave her the vaccines anyway. And the mother came back a few months later, and they put her in jail for 3 months, and now she's out and she can visit her child. But what gives the state the right to make these kind of decisions for parents? You know, it's like, I don't know. You're responsible if you're not feeding your child right, or you're this and that. Okay. But something that we know is harming the children, what do you do? I don't know. I would not vaccinate my daughter if she was of the age now So what's your recourse? Private school, maybe, if you can afford it. I don't know if that also covers private school. Maybe it does. But the government's in our lives. They're in way too deep into our lives. I mean, look, they tell us what light bulbs we can use in our house, what toilet we have to have in our house. It's enough is enough. And now telling us what we can do with our children, it's like that case of forcing that young girl to have chemo. Her mother stands behind her, right? Not to. She doesn't want to put poisons in her body. But they come out and say, well, the state is responsible. But since when? I mean, I always thought parents were children were the responsibility of the parent. But things are so upside down to when a court can take your child and do things that you don't want done. It's wrong in every sense of the word. And I don't have any answers. I wish I did. It's making guinea pigs out of all of us, including our children, and we have no right to say no. Just the same with chemo. To me, anyone knows that you don't give a sick person poison. And that's what chemo is. Well, this is the same thing. A nice, healthy child, and you're gonna force them to take this vaccine that could very well make it so that the woman can't have children when she gets older. It's like the pharmaceutical companies, that they're behind all this. They have to be. But when do people say enough? How many children have to die? 34 in 1 month? And then too, if you question your doctor, they get all uppity, and then the doctor will turn you in and say that you wouldn't let your daughter have the shot. Then they take your daughter away and give her the shot anyway. I don't know. And the schools, I would look in to see how much they're making off of making off of this to sell you that you can't, your daughter can't go to school unless she has this shot that could possibly kill her, It's crazy. Take your kids out of school, homeschool. It's the only thing I can think of.
And I will catch you guys tomorrow. Everybody take care.